Excellent. What information should a portfolio contain, and what is a good way of hosting that information? Again, this is a big giant. It depends, and I don't recall if you were in my breakout room or not. I think you were, yes, because obviously if you're here and Siobhan is not, then that makes sense. As mentioned, it depends on what it is you want someone to the takeaway to be, having it targeted, and maybe this means making separate portfolios. I know that that's like overhead, but like it's hard to balance all of that. So if there's really something you're going for, really try to tailor it for that. Again, art portfolio, design portfolio, or engineering portfolio. Like honestly, again, as noted, a lot of times engineers can get away with not having a portfolio, and like a CV is really all that matters. And maybe a personal website that demonstrates that the CV leads to that, like, oh yeah, here's some projects, but then it's like very CV forward of like data, facts, information. The design portfolio, again, if there's a specialization or something that you're wanting, what is the takeaway that like, this person is good at this thing, what is the thing that you want to communicate to them? And maybe that means changing what you're communicating depending on the role. Like if there's only if you're really trying to go for are you doing narrative design, or are you doing systems or balance, or what have you? So a few high quality things demonstrating that with as low friction. Think about like a UX standpoint of friction. Any kind of click or navigation or any extra action you take is going to be a funnel where statistically someone is going to drop off and not engage with it any further. So if you have a little bit of high value information, easily accessible, and I can just accidentally get that information even without even trying, like that, thinking of it from that way, like how can I get that to just download into someone's brain ASAP? So as far as what that information is, it's like what is valuable to that role. So systems balance, it's like, well, hey, maybe I have a little clip of showing a bunch of different types of enemies and a bunch of different types of weapons and how they interact and engage, and I can see that maybe it's a bullet hell or something, and you can demonstrate that and maybe have like a little descriptor of that next to that video that I can see. Yeah, and if it is all in one video, maybe you can do like either like an elegant caption of it or something like that, and be able to like, hey, you can see things here. I would be wary of putting too much text in a video for sure, because like I don't want to be trying to read and see and whatnot at the same time. But if there's a specific call out, like I want to know what you did as opposed to other people. And then yeah, hosting that information, like we've said before, Weebly, Google Sites, Google Pages, YouTube. Those are all like I think everyone's doing a good job of having things available online, but also be mindful of like overloading people. What skills are important as an entry-level game dev? All right, I would say a few things. One is demonstrated ability to learn. Like being able to show that, okay, here's something I didn't know how to do, and I learned how to do it. Like I'm really interested in that person who did a hard thing, because doing a hard thing is hard, and there's no two ways around doing that. So like obviously like you're putting yourself out there and you're demonstrating your skills, but being able to really illustrate that here is a challenging thing and I persevered, that's really valuable. And if you can speak to that in an interview, if you can, and this kind of ties into partly into Zach's follow-up question, is like soft skills. Like if you can work well with someone, right? Like if you can learn something you didn't know and you can work well with on a team, that goes really, really far. So like team dynamics in general are a hard-earned skill that you are going to basically need to know how to do to be able to do well in the industry. And so like that is like, there are a bunch of different roles and a bunch of different people, and you're all going to be working together and collaborating and accidentally stepping on each other's toes all the time. And being able to do that gracefully is good. And so, maybe you can't necessarily speak to that on a resume, but being able to speak to situations where you've demonstrated that skill of being able to work in difficult circumstances and overcome it is really, really valuable. So again, entry level skills as a game dev also depends on what role. Engineering, even engineering has a bunch of different disciplines, right? And design has a bunch of different disciplines. Like with engineering, are you an engine dev? Are you doing gameplay engineering there? There's a lot of gameplay engineering roles, but again, it's like, what is it that you're going for? Like, the more types of languages and frameworks and whatnot, like, even if you have like a little bit of experience with it, being able to say, hey, look, at some point engineering is engineering, and if you're able to kind of pick up and get used to a lot of different things, that's really great. So like, obviously the big ones, Unity and Unreal, and now Godot is kind of becoming a thing, but still Unity and Unreal are going to be a stalwart. My background's in proprietary engines and C++, so it's like, okay, if you have been able to show demonstrated competency in a bunch of different things, that means you're not pigeonholed, and so you can demonstrate that, like, I learned a bunch of things, and because I was able to do a bunch of different things. And then I guess in that last one, some ways for game testers to progress into a development role. Frankly, I have not seen that happen often. I think I only saw that happen like twice, like in my career. Like, it's good to become familiar. So if that's a way of getting like exposed to the information and whatnot, I've done game testing like indirectly, right? Like I did game testing as a summer internship, but that did not. It actually wasn't even an internship. It was just a contract job. Because like, that's the thing, is like, I went to DigiPen and we were next to Nintendo of America, and so I did a summer test job there, and that's just something that they advertised on Craigslist. I didn't need it. It was immaterial that I went to DigiPen. There were mostly people who were just not going into game dev who were working in, right? And so that experience was incredibly valuable and informed me to make me a better engineer, because it made me paranoid about things, about like, okay, I'm going to try to break everything, so I'm better as an engineer for having done game testing. But there's not really a direct line path between, oh, I did testing and then I got hired to do something unrelated to that. Basically, testing is like, maybe you could, if you then got an SDE, or if you got a computer science background, you could go become an engineer and test. And then you have like, I did QA and engineering, and so now I can make test harnesses and whatnot, and maybe build automation. But I would say there's in general not really that crossing the bridge without much effort. Like I said, I only saw it like twice in my career so far. Siobhan, you're muted.
Great, here we go. And it's super frustrating because I have so much respect for test as a discipline, and there is so much value to be gained from, especially engineers in test. From at Microsoft, there was a role there called SDET, Software Development Engineer in Test. And I just absolutely adored working with SDETs, because the quality of feedback you get and the quality, the leverage you get in making your game better by having a tester who has that engineering background and can develop test harnesses, or even just can do the testing with an understanding of, here are things that I can do that I know from my background as a programmer will tend to break things, right? That's just much more directed and valuable than somebody who I've played 27,000 hours of games, and so I can test. It's like, well, that's great, but test engineers are wonderful, and most game companies just do not respect testing as a discipline at all. And it's frustrating, but I don't need to soapbox about it here.
Yeah, and like I said, it's absolutely worth getting the skill set at some point. It's not necessary, but it is
personally
valuable.
Very valuable. Yeah. Right? It will absolutely make you a better developer, and you can use that story when you're talking to people in job interviews and such. But it's not going to help your resume any.
Right.
Except with people like me and Zach.
Yeah.
Cool. We still have two more questions. Let's just do two more questions, and then we wrap up. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
One from Ryan and one from Christian.
Yeah. Ryan says.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Ryan says, I'm trying to make contacts with people in the industry, but oftentimes I'm finding cold calls go dark. What's the best way to make industry connections with other developers like myself? As a bonus, is there a way to make these connections for people specializing in game AI? So networking. So yes, cold calls are extremely unsuccessful most of the time. Yes, exactly. Local IGDA chapter, any kind of meetups, game dev. There are discords for local things. The IGDA has a ton of chapters. I am also the chair of the IGDA board of directors right now. So like, if you have any questions about the IGDA, hit me up afterward and let me know, and I can give you some information on that. But there are a lot of special interest groups and chapters associated with that in your specific region. There are also, like in Seattle here, for example, there's Seattle Indies, which also kind of came out of some of the IGDA Seattle chapter team that ended up making something more specifically for the local area. Vancouver has a bunch of full indie and whatnot. There are tons of different game dev meetups that if you look, you can find those resources, and you will find a lot of people like you looking at varying levels of game dev experience. Like our scene in particular has both AAA and people trying to break in, and all are welcome. And other people were just interested. We're like, oh yeah, I just like game stuff, and so I know a bunch of game people, right? So there's exactly, the discords coordinate for things outside of that. If you can manage it, find other conference attendance is super useful, like GDC, or not so much something like PAX because that's consumer focused, but if there are small conferences, like occasionally there's Pocket Gamer does a number of things. It's that are like all over the place. It can be hard to find, but like networking is super important. And networking is, I always say that networking is friends first and business later. So like if you go in and you try to make connections, and hell, you like go contact each other right now, like you now have a cohort that you have just stumbled upon yourselves, and maybe you are breaking into the industry, or you're have started and you're trying to progress it. Well, give it 5 years and you'll have had jobs, you'll have had experience, and suddenly 10 years down the road, building those relationships and connections, that's how, oh, I know that person, they jumped 3 businesses and now they're the CTO of this, and that guy's the engineering director of that, and she's the AD over there, or she's the game design lead over there. And so it's just like you will just know people if you build those connections and keep maintaining them. They don't need to be valuable. It's like the value comes from continuing to maintain those relationships. So establishing them, and then just time over time, just constantly build those friendships. It's friends first, business later. And when you see an opportunity to potentially like, oh, you scratch not even like the you scratch my badge, I scratch yours, you might be able to be like, oh, you're looking for an audio person? I know an audio person. Hey, why don't I connect you to? Now there's like goodwill that you help 2 people that and then maybe that might not pay off now. That might be something where like a few years later, you're like looking for something, and turns out like, oh, hey, like I just happened to find opportunity. So there's like two things with opportunities. Like I think it was Seneca has this statement about luck is success is when luck meets opportunity, something along those lines. And so basically you have you can do two things. You can create more opportunities, you can go to more conferences, meet more people, you can do more things. That's within your control. So you can't make yourself lucky, but you can roll the dice more, right? And so then over time you learn these things and you build these connections. And so the more you roll the dice, at some point one of those things is going to help. And so that's how you can manifest success and luck at some point. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox here. I'm sure there's something else.
Cool. All right, let's do just the last one. The question from Christian. I guess either of you might have an opinion on this about the state of an industry.
Yeah. So, all right. I've been in the industry for games in general 37 years, and computer games specifically for 35 years. And the industry right now, I'm not here to lie or sugarcoat it to people. The industry right now is the worst I have ever seen in that entire span. And there's maybe a lot of reasons for that. I don't really want to go into those. It is what it is. The fact of the matter out there is that it is a brutal time. There are a lot of people looking for work. There's a shrinking pool of jobs right now. What I will say is that every one of the industry contractions that I've been through over the past 35 years, it always turned around, because ultimately games are the entertainment people want. Gaming as a field is bigger than Hollywood. It is bigger than movies. This is the entertainment that people want and that people will pay for. So all of the nonsense and shrinking job market and all that stuff is just it's just noise. It's just chaos created by bad decisions at the top levels, the industry levels. At the end of the day, there is a pool of people out there, a large pool of people who are eager to get new gaming experiences and are ready and willing to pay for them. And we as developers just have to find ways to get paid to deliver those products to people. So it will turn around, but it will take time. And that's really all I can say about the industry.
Yeah, and again, it's something that building your own community is super valuable. One thing that I will say, that as rough as the games industry can certainly be, it's very rarely competitive, I would say. Like maybe for specific roles, obviously there's like competition, but when like there's a studio shuttering, which it's always awful, the first thing that anyone's saying is like, do we have any headcount? Can we like get people, like, I know someone who's over there, like it's, oh, I saw some job openings at such and such, like here's some resources. Everyone immediately tries to like help each other out. And one of the reasons for that is actually because a lot of people hop jobs quite frequently. Yeah. Like it was a game survey, like, I don't know, a decade ago. I don't remember exactly when it was, but basically one of the resulting figures from it was over a 5-year period, people changed jobs 2.2 times on average. And that's a lot, but that also means that people don't have much fealty to a specific studio, right? Where you might end up with like, well, they suck because they're not us, and that's kind of a toxic mentality. So instead people think of the category or the class of, we're game devs. I want to help out game devs because they're my friends and we're here. So yeah, if you make it to 5 years, you're probably a lifer.
For better or worse, yeah.
All right, sounds good. I think that with that, that wraps up the event today.